All right.
Well, where do we leave off, Dave?
Okay, so here's what happened. I accidentally screwed up and erased from when you were a deckhand, so we got to start it. Your deckhand days again.
I can't go through this again.
Oh my gosh.
I'm too
Yeah,
old.
because there's lots of stress.
Too old.
So we're back in here with Captain Don Hansen, and we're going to touch back. We got to the point where you were making all your big money carting the fish off the San Clemente Pier in your wagon, and then you started running sport boats, but we missed the middle part. What happened? You started being a deckhand, you worked with some of the old timers on their boats. What did you do?
That was exactly what it said. I was a pinhead deckhand, and then I finally became a legitimate deckhand where I could fillet the fish, clean the fish.
You guys couldn't fillet back then, though, could you?
No.
You had a gill and gut, or
Gill and gut.
could you take the heads off?
That's why we had cargo, that's why you had the wagons to haul the fish off the pier, because everything was head and gutted. You had no fillets. Nowadays, you watch over and somebody goes off with a bag of fillets. You said, "Oh, I had a bad day," but the guys are happy they had a whole. Anyway,
Because it looks like they caught nothing.
got nothing. So no, that's then I went from being that to well, I had a little time off there for Korea. When I left fishing, I went to and got to meet Mr. Dick Helgren and the Coast Guard. Him and I ran patrol boats around L.A. Long Beach Harbor for a couple of years.
Oceanside Dick?
Oceanside Dick.
All right.
Dick Helgren and I. We became very good friends. And we had a lot of other friends up there. When I was still just running the boats on the pier, the only guys I knew very well was Bill Poole and Eddie McHugh and guys like that, Bruce Barnes, Jimmy Schaefer and Phil Tozier, and that's the group I grew up with.
What was Frank Lopresti doing?
He was a deckhand.
No way.
Frank was a deckhand with Spike Taff on the Patrician, and then he went from there to what he's done now, and he's done quite well, thank God.
So did he used to help? Did he used to come down and fish with you on the pier?
He fished with me on the Real Fun, off the pier, yes. He was he hadn't quite made pinhead deckhand yet. He was still working his way up the ladder.
Frank Lopresti.
Frank Lopresti. And I used to let him drive the boat home because I could sleep
On the Real
on
Fun.
the Real Fun. So he got to drive the boat at 10 or 12 years old. I don't know how old he was. Wasn't very old. But that's my first meeting with Frank. He taught us all how to eat squid. We thought it was bait, and he told us it was something to eat. So it turned out to be very good.
So let's go back a little bit more. So then you were working as a deckhand on the boats off the San Clemente Pier. Is that, did you like fishing, or what did you like money? What was it?
No, I love to
that got
fish.
you into that?
I love to fish. I love to fish. I still love to fish calico bass. That's my favorite fish to catch is calico bass. Or feather merchant on barracuda. When the barracuda were thick, you could throw feathers and catch barracuda.
Yeah, that's a thing that's lost here in the Southern California thing. Fishermen today, when they hear about barracuda, they kind of turn their nose. But man, until the middle of the 80s, probably the 90s, that was the fish, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was
In Southern California landings?
That was a big fish. Big fish.
That's what everybody wanted to catch, right?
Yeah, when we first built the Sum Fund in 1960, and I won't get into that because I'll talk about all the boats I remember in those days, but and that was what we did in the morning. We fished, honest to God, we fished barracuda, yellowtail, and bass in the morning with 60 people, come back and unload and go fish albacore in the afternoon.
Really? Off the pier?
Off the pier. And we had 200 fish stops where you could still see the end of the San Clemente Pier.
Albacore.
That's been a long, long time. Then, 2 or 3 years later, that we couldn't catch coal. We couldn't catch anything, let alone barracuda, bass, or bermuda. There was nothing.
So do you think all the fish were gone?
No, we didn't realize that
No?
ocean conditions had changed. That's what it was. The water was ice cold. We didn't know that it was ice cold because nobody had a temperature gauge in those days. We just stuck your big finger in there, and if it came back purple, you knew it was cold. But
So do you think that it cycles then,
It's
right?
cycled.
It's not the end of the world?
It's not the end of the world.
Wow.
You don't have to
Think of
pack,
that,
you don't have to
folks.
pack up your bags. And it does cycle.
You think fish come and go?
Oh, yes, fish come
No
and go all
way.
the time, yes.
That's amazing. So
Yeah, it is. It's
in the
amazing.
50s when you were working, was the fishing insane?
Fishing was insane, like I just got through
But
telling
then
you.
it wasn't.
And it got bad. And when you take 120 people out fishing, 60 in the morning, 60 in the afternoon, and pay off the jackpot with a tom cod, white croaker, or whatever you want to call it, it was not really exciting.
And that was the good old days.
That was the good old days. That's the days people remember. But
Isn't that funny?
we don't like to remember.
You think
those days.
about that though? You're
Sure.
talking the 50s, 60s, and they couldn't catch nothing but a tomcod. And
Yeah.
now you look at fishing today and what's going on with these giant bluefin and yellowtail, and it's May and this has been going on since April, and people still think of the good old days was back when you were young.
Yeah, they were good old days then, but we fished bluefin on the kelp in those days with a number 8 hook or, the smallest hook you could get, and then you still couldn't catch them. They'd boil around the boat all day long and you'd never catch one.
So you were a captain in the 60s, right?
Oh,
When did you
yeah.
get your captain's license in the 50s?
1957.
1957. And then what made you decide to become the owner of the boat? How did that all come about? That's kind of an interesting story.
I worked for John Norrick and Woody Payne, like I said before. They
Off
started
the San Clemente
on
Pier.
the pier. And Bob Callis took it over, and then Bob Callis sold it to Nelson Cook. And Nelson Cook decided he wanted to get out in 1963. And there's Sammy Cordero, Joe Patterson, and myself. Joe was on a lot of fun, Sammy was on the real fun, and I had the some fun. And Nelson came to us and said, if anybody would like to buy this, here's the price, and go ahead. Joe didn't want to do it, and Sam had just left and gone to work for Elmer Hare on the dorsal. So it came to me if I wanted a job. So I had a good friend by the name of J.D. Dapper that said he would help me, and so we presented our story to Nelson, and he said he bought it. So we 1963, we owned San Clemente Sport Fishing.
And what did it consist of then? What did you actually
Real
buy?
fun, a lot of fun. Some fun. We have one more boat. I can't. My mind is a blank right now, but I'll find it here in a minute. And then we built the Clemente. No, the San. Yeah, that's right. Still had the San Mateo. Then we built the Clemente, which is
What year did you build that boat?
1965.
4, 5?
Oh, never mind.
Where did you build that at?
I
This is an interesting story, folks. Think of this. You built the house where?
We built a house on Palaeo in Costa Mesa. Built the boat in Fountain Valley. And they came together at the shipyard in Lido Shipyard and went together in the boat.
And then how'd you guys get it to the water? This is the stuff you guys don't understand. There used to be a company called Dittmar Donaldson that built boats in Newport too, and they drive them right down Newport Boulevard and put them in the water, right?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you that story. When we were building the Sun Fun, Bruce Barnes was building the Qualifier and Jimmy Schaefer was building the Thunderbird. And they were being built at Dittmar Donaldson, which was called sea boats, whatever you want. There's a ton of sea boats out there, as we all know. Frank Lepresti's got one. The Searcher's another one. There's a lot of Dittmar Donaldson boats still kicking around. Then they built the 85 footers, Liberty, the Freedom, and the
Grande now.
Grande, which is the America. That was Dittmar built a lot of boats, but we built these. These were steel boats. Some Fun and the Clemente were steel boats.
In the Qualifier.
The Qualifier was wood, and the Thunderbird was wood. Seahorse was one of the first Dittmar Donaldson boats they built up there. It came out of there in probably 1958 or 59, something like that. Maybe earlier than that. I ran it when it was for Gil Smith when it was brand new. I ran it out of Newport. because I didn't have anything to do in the wintertime. So we ran out of Davy's Locker, which was back there on the Rhine, where the sea shanty is now, or whatever. It's not sea shanty, it was
Blue Water Grill.
Blue Water Grill. Yeah, God, what a
Right
memory.
across the street from the old cannery, right?
Yeah, I had the cannery leased, David, for years
Really?
to keep the boats there in the wintertime. When the cannery shut down, there was 5 operating canneries at Newport Beach at one time. And that's one of my commercial career. I fished mackerel. And your mother thought that was the worst thing that ever happened.
Because of the stink?
The stink was so bad, the clothes couldn't come in the house. But anyway, that's another story. So,
Commercial fishing mackerel.
yeah.
Imagine that.
Scooping, scoop and scoop. And
Not
scoop.
using a sabiki or anything, you just chum them up to the back of the boat and scoop them out of the water?
Rod and fish in the water, this mackerel would come to them, you scoop them up, put them on the deck and take them in the sun.
Crazy. What year do you think that was? Do you remember?
In the 50s.
Wow. Okay. Those fish were disappeared for a long time, and now they're kind of back.
Yep, they disappeared and they started, well, they're all gone, just like the sardines were. I was fishing, I'll go change the story, get off the sport boats. I was fishing with Tex Brock, actually, Tex Brock and Arm 2, John Norrick's boat. And we went out on a Thursday and caught deck horse and sardines, went out on a Friday and didn't catch anything. And I said, well,
They're gone.
they're gone.
Forever.
And they were gone. We couldn't find them again. That was it. And then they disappeared and they came back.
And now you can't find a bait barge in Southern California that doesn't have sardines in it. Isn't that bizarre?
That's bizarre.
Back to the cycles thing, right?
Back to
Cyclical. It's all cycles?
Yeah. Now we got through 1960 here, I think. We're working
Right.
our way through 1960.
We're up to 64, 65. You're
We
building
built
the Clemente.
Built the Clemente, and maybe a lot of you people probably remember Norm Barbary. I don't know if you do, but I do. And Norm he had a charter boat called the Nobilis, and then we built the Clemente. We gave it to Norm to run, and he had a deckhand that's well known around San Clemente as a contractor now. Pat Biggs is his deckhand. Pat Biggs had the honor of being the tram driver before he became a deckhand. So.
The tram, you mean
We had
the thing
a
that carted
tram.
the fish off the pier?
As life went on and life got simpler, or if that's what you want to call it, we had a tram, so the people wouldn't have to walk all the way from one end of the pier to the other. And Pat drove the tram back and forth. Well, a funny story when we're still on the pier, and Bruce Jones was working for us, and he was driving a little fish cart back and forth. And if people remember, the train goes by the end of the pier there. Bruce got stuck in the tracks with a little cart full of yellowtail. And he saw the train come, he ran, and the train hit the cart. And the fish wound up in the 3rd story of the hotel there. So, people said, "Where's our yellowtail?" And I said, "Go up in that 3rd story and go get them. They're up there." So they went everywhere.
Wow. So
All right.
the pier was pretty spectacular, pulling up to that, getting your people off the pier. I remember when I was a kid, because I still have a few memories, coming with you in the morning, and you would sell the tickets in the little office at the end of the pier, and I would kind of sleep underneath your feet, and then your crew would bring the boat to the pier for you. In the morning, you were doing everything back then.
Oh yeah.
And then we'd crawl down the ladder, get on the boat, and go fishing for the day.
Yeah.
After you sold the tickets,
Yeah.
then you grabbed the boat and took it out fishing with all the people on it.
Oh yeah, that's when you made a lot of money.
That was incredible back
yeah.
then to think about it.
You made a lot of money then too. $12, $14 a day, cash.
Hey, check that out. Yeah, but gasoline was what, like $4 a gallon, or 4 cents a gallon?
No, we had
12 cents?
No, I don't. Diesel was 10 cents. I knew that.
Okay.
We had our own fuel
10
tank.
cents a gallon,
We had
guys.
our own fuel tank
Think of
at the
that.
pier.
10 cents a gallon. Oh, hey, there's a good story. You know, we talked about it with Bobby and Kenny. We talked about it a little bit with Danny. What was it like Because everyone today thinks, hey, we just pull up to the bait barge in the morning and we get some bait. We're off the San Clemente Pier. What did you guys do for bait? How did that all thing work out? Because a very, very good friend of yours for many, many years ran the bait company. This is a good story. He had a couple of boats. He had a boat that just was like a bait receiver. It hauled the bait. He had a couple of boats that fished the bait. Talk about your old buddy John Mello for a little bit. Or, excuse me, his father, Art.
No, there was one. That's another thing about Sea Boats. They built, or we're building the Sump Fund. Art built the Mona Lisa at the same time. That was the bait boat for us. We had before that we had Eddie Kennedy and then he left and Art Mello took over hauling bait and Art and his brothers Louie and and Joe. Joe was the older brother. Joe, Louie, and Sam. Sam was the son that worked on there too. But the funny thing about it, they built the Mona Lisa, and it could carry, quite a bit of bait. But they put a 671 engine in it when they built it because they figured 671 Jimny was very popular in those days. So here he comes out to bring me bait on the Sump Fund. He's aiming right at me, dead center. And they put it in reverse, and you can see their faces light up. They're backing down, full steam astern, and the boat is not slowing down at all. It's coming right at us.
And it's a steel boat, and you're on a
It's
steel boat.
and it hits his midship.
Really?
And that Art decided right then and there to take that out and put a bigger engine in so he could stop the damn thing. So
Oh, wow.
because it was way, way underpowered. Anyway, those were the good old days in the bait hauling business. Then
So how did that work, though? You guys, in the morning, you had to have bait on the boat, right?
Well, a lot of things happened in those days in the bait on the boat. And I don't know if you remember the Rise and Shine, which was this carrier. Art would, they tried to do most of their fishing at night up in the LA Harbor and stuff like that, and load on the carrier, the Rise and Shine, and the Rise and Shine would bring the bait down to us. And invariably, every morning he called the bait boat, and he was off. He was always off
Newport.
somewhere off Laguna Beach. He never was where he's supposed to be. But anyway, that's another story. And then I got to where Chuck, who's running it, was